this team, this Chargers team, is definitely, just to the eye, the naked eye, just sitting here watching, a totally different team than the one last year. And I'm wondering what you see with your keen all-22 eye, Daniel.
Well, I tell you what, it should be a good lesson for people, when you're hiring a head coach. And sometimes you get hung up on offense or defense. At the end of the day, you want to hire somebody that brings leadership to the table first and foremost, that can establish an identity for your team and your organization. And Brandon Staley happens to also just be a fantastic defensive coach, but that's down the list for me of why that's been such a home run hire. When you see how aggressive that they play and the confidence that he has and then he puts in his guys, to me, it's a game changer. I've seen, I've watched this team, growing up all my life, and I've seen so many games like last night, get away from them. And you kind of get that, oh, no, here we go. And Brandon Staley, even when it started to go bad during the third quarter, he never took his foot off the gas pedal. And it's a totally different identity here for this group.
Yeah, I had Joey Bosa on the pregame show for Westwood One, and we aired that interview right here on this show yesterday. And when I asked him about, the Chiefs game and what it meant to the team, he mentioned, I didn't even bring up Brandon Staley, he mentioned that everything played out the way that Coach told us. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? And he basically said the coach walked him throughout the week. We're going to get up on them early. They're going to make a run, and we have to expect that and obviously stand our ground and once we expect it to come. And that sounds simple. That does sound like you could describe many games in the NFL like that, but you could see that Bosa was picking up what the coach was putting down, and the fact that it played out that way only lends to bomb the team together like that. And I found that a fascinating story, DJ.
Yeah, no, it is fascinating. And it just, there's a belief, there's a buy-in, and there's a lot of darn good players. This roster is really, really talented. I was telling Money as we were kind of getting into the game, as he's calling the game, I said, you know what, normally I look down at the board and I say, okay, man, well, this is, you've got Keenan Allen on this corner. Like that's the matchup in this game. But when I looked at, kind of where the Raiders are defensively, and some of that's with some injuries that they have, but I'm like, man, you've got Jared Cook's a matchup nightmare in the passing game. Eckler's a matchup nightmare. You've got Williams and Keenan. There's a lot of different ways they can go with the football and a lot of favorable matchups. And in a game where Keenan and Mike didn't really have much production, they found a way with just their backs and tight ends to go out there and beat a really, really good Raider team.
Well, and so now the last 2 weeks together, the Chargers are now 3-1, just like the Raiders and just like the Broncos, a game in front of the Chiefs. But the most important thing for them is that they're 2-0 in division, including one on the road against, you would say, the toughest team in the division, since they're the two-time defending conference champs, not just the division champs. How do you see this whole conference playing out, certainly with the Chiefs and the Bills having at it on Sunday night on NBC? How do you see that?
Yeah, I think it's competitive, Rich, but when you look at those three teams, right? So if you looked at the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Chargers, look at the ceiling that you have at the quarterback position with those three guys. You're talking about big, strong, athletic, big-time playmakers, highly intelligent, and they're all just getting better. That's why you got to be so fired up about the NFL and where it is right now. We've got young star players at those positions, and they're not star players buried on bad teams. They're with good coaches with great talent around them, and that's why, man, it's just I've never felt better about the sport. I know it's been the best product going for a long time. It's not just an infomercial, but I can't remember a time we've had this many talented young quarterbacks. And this isn't Matthew Stafford, in Detroit, where you're kind of like, man, I don't know, are they ever going to be able to make the playoffs? These guys have great coaches and great talent around them. Man, this is going to be a fun decade.
So throwing it out there, though, you would place your chips where? Because let's just throw the Ravens, who are 3-1 despite going to the running back bargain basement store right at the beginning of the season. And the Browns sitting there at 3-1, and the Browns are the ones coming in to take on the Chargers in SoFi in Week 5. Map it all out for me. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you hit on it, Rich. With those two games this next week are going to be good learning opportunities. When you see the Chiefs and the Bills, and then you see the Browns and the Chargers, I think we're going to learn. It's going to be like a pretty good litmus test for these four teams. So I know when I look at them on paper, I believe more in the Bills as a complete team with their defense pitching a couple shutouts versus Kansas City's defense, who's got a lot of holes in it. And then I look at the Browns. Man, the defense is unbelievable. But can the offense keep pace? Can Baker, take his game to the level that these other three quarterbacks in that group can? So looking at it from big picture right now, I would say it's Buffalo and the Chargers as the more complete teams. But man, it's going to be fun to watch those two games this upcoming weekend.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.